Such a pleasure to welcome Colin Purnell. Welcome to Gamechanger Project. It's a joy to have you here. I'm so glad we could take the time to get connected and have this conversation.
Thank you, Patrick. It's a real pleasure to be here, and we just love sharing the information, love hearing the stories from people who've used our products, and it just makes such a difference to their gardens and to their lives.
Tell me, I really want to get into a little bit of your story and how you came to be, working with this remarkable product and how it came, because I think it's so important to understand, when we get the backstory of a character or a product, then it all kind of makes sense. But before we dive into that, tell me what is Earth Life? It's rock minerals essentially, which, I thought I knew what that was when I started talking to you. Then I realized quickly I had no idea. So for the uninitiated, what's rock minerals all about, and specifically Earth Life Soil Balance?
Well, Earth Life Soil Balance is a system of improving soil, improving the health of plants, which then in turn creates healthier, happier people.
Beautiful. Tell me, why is soil quality so? Don't we just eat our veggies and then we get healthy? Why is soil quality so important to healthy minerals and healthy people?
Well, it's so important because soil is really the basis to life, and as I keep saying, the health of the people are directly correlated to the health of the soil that our food's growing on.
Yeah, wow. So tell me, this is not your typical fertilizing approach. It's not your typical gardening or farming approach. So how did you come to, first even discover that rock minerals was a thing, and then how did it evolve or grow or develop to become what it is today? Tell me the story of Earth Life.
Well, it goes right back to when I grew up on a dairy farm, sort of mixed farming situations. So, we're on marginal country, poor soil, low rainfall, low moisture issues. And so there must be something that holds more moisture in the soil so that we can grow reasonable crops or better crops.
That sounds like 80 or 90% of Australia right there. So, you know what I mean?
Well, that's right. But, when you're in these situations, you start thinking about things, and so that led us on a journey. And we came across other people that were on a similar journeys, and we shared information, and which led us to people that could help us move forward, and either to read books or to other people who might be able to help us on that journey. And so we actually came across a book, Bread from Stones, which talks about information that was back in the 1800s. So rock minerals has really been around for really thousands of years. Just people have now put it into a book or to help understand how it works. And so that's right back at the very beginning of our journey, I suppose. And so it was trying to access rock minerals or rock dust or rock flour, as it was called back then, and see if something like that might work in our situation.
Gotcha.
And so really, we didn't really see much results from that.
Good, okay.
So as we talked to people, and they said, oh, well, you could try zeolite, or you could try this or that, and so we started using those sorts of products and started doing combinations of products, and we eventually came, and so it usually still took quite some time for those products to work and see results from that.
Yep.
So it can be 6 months up to 2 years. And so we actually then came across a soil scientist and microbiologist, plant pathologist. We got agronomists. So we just kept asking questions, and if we've got answers, or we asked more questions, and so we started really making them have to go back and sort of either do research or do some more reading and try and find some answers for us. And by combining biology with the rock minerals, blending it in and enhancing the rock minerals with the biology, started making some real differences.
Okay. Tell me, what was it that was, it sounds like it wasn't an easy journey. Sounds like you just found this stuff on a shelf, you used it, and it worked. I mean, it wasn't...
Oh, no.
You were really pioneering this, right? And really trying to work out what was going to work in your situation.
Yes, that's right, exactly. So we tried a whole range of products, so there was things like zeolites, there's coal fines, because you know about getting carbon back in the soil, that's supposed to hold moisture, but, biochar, various different rock materials, and so as we blended these combinations and did trials and actually found a crop that flourished on it, we then did some replicated pot trials to sort of prove the product's efficacy more specifically. And in one of those trials, we actually found that we doubled production just by adding rock minerals to the same amount of fertiliser, same amount of water.
What year was this?
Oh, that's going way back in the mid-1990s.
Oh, wow. Okay. You've been at this a long while then.
Yeah.
So tell me, what was it for you that was really driving that? Because it must have, listening to this, it seems like it would have been easier to quit. It seems like it would have been easier to not go through all this. What was it that kept you going? Why were you so damn persistent at this?
Oh, I don't know. I think it's just one of those things, probably one of my traits that I'm persistent, that I don't give up easily, and I just think that this was the way forward. And as we read some other books, well, back in 1992, we actually came across a document that talked about the mineral depletion issue in Australian soils, not only in Australian soils but worldwide. And so they were saying that Australia's mineral depletion was about 50% down on a previous 100 years. So that means...
This is back in the 90s.
Yeah, this is back in the
90s.
90s.
Wow.
1992.
Okay.
And yet there's a document that precedes that back in 1938, document 284, that was introduced into the American Senate and similar time into the Australian Senate, about talking about the mineral depletion issue in the soils back then.
Whoa. So this is not a new topic.
No, it's been around a long time, and I don't think people really know how to address the issue. They think, soil's soil, we can virtually do anything with it, it'll grow plants, and that we, just by adding fertiliser, we can achieve, a valuable crop.
Wow. And that's not...
Well, with the excessive use of fertilisers, we're finding that we're having to use more herbicides, more pesticides to control insects and disease, or the weed issue.
Okay.
So all these things, impact on using water-soluble salt-based fertilisers. And so there's people that get into organics, and so they start using alternative type products, like compost or manures.
Yep.
And we're finding that while we're getting benefit from using all these various products, there's still a whole lot of issues which are manifesting themselves in pests and diseases. Weeds are becoming more and more of an issue, so while we're using herbicides to kill weeds, next season or next year we end up with more weeds, and sometimes they're getting harder weeds than the ones that we were trying to kill before.
So with Earth Life, I mean, surely you still need to take care of pests and weeds. I mean, that's like a gardener's life, right?
Well, that's what we're led to believe, that these are all the things that we just have to put up with growing plants. That it's just part of the course. But as we're finding, as we address the mineral depletion issue, we are enhancing the soil's potential to actually help the plant grow with growing complex sugars versus simple sugars. And so insects only have primitive digestive systems, and so they can't digest complex sugars, and so it makes them sick, so they nick off to the neighbours.
So you're telling me by using Earth Life rock minerals, the pests aren't going to eat my plants?
That's exactly right.
And you found that. Give me an example of that. Who's had that experience?
Well, we have it in our own garden.
Okay.
There's people here in Toowoomba who have taken out first prize, I think, in the last 3 to 5 years of the best productive garden in the Carnival of Flowers competition.
Really?
And so, you got spinach leaves with no holes, hardly any holes in them from, being eaten by insects.
This is from restoring the mineral depletion in the soil.
Yes.
And then the bugs don't eat the plants.
That's right. That's what. It's simple science. It's the way it works.
I want to get into the weeds as well, but how does that work? How is that? Like, you mentioned simple sugars and complex sugars. What's actually going on there?
Well, while we're only working with, say, the 20 essential mineral elements that we're using from conventional fertilising systems,
Yep.
it's not sufficient minerals or sufficient nutrition for the plant to grow to its full potential.
Okay.
Well,
how many minerals does it need?
Well, they've ashed plants and found that they can contain up to 60 mineral elements.
Wow.
So why are we only feeding them 12 or 20 or whatever,
Yeah, sure. And that's what all the typical fertilisers have got. It's like, hey, here's the ones that we need to make it grow.
Well,
we'll just give them that.
Yeah, well, they're the major mineral elements that they've found that the plants contain, and so we just provide those because they're relatively cheap to make. And so, we get benefit from using them. Well, we see that we get benefit, but we have to put up with other side issues or, things that manifest themselves from poor nutrition. High nitrogen in your fertiliser mix stretches the cell structure like you stretch a rubber band.
Okay.
So now the plant's constantly under stress, and it sends off a stress signal for insects as telling it, come and eat me, I'm unhealthy.
Oh, really?
So, it's that simple. And so there's scientists that have actually proven that's how it works.
Gotcha. What about the weeds?
Well, weeds again are in the main like lighthouses. They're indicator plants of either mineral imbalances or mineral deficiencies. So weeds are sort of primitive plant species, and so they actually thrive in a less microbial populated soil, less mineral populated soils. So until we actually address that issue and increase the mineral content, increase the biology content in the soil, we're going to struggle to grow healthy plants with less insects, less disease issues.
Unbelievable. And that's what Earth Life does.
That's what Earth Life does. Wow. We address that core issue of mineral depletion and biological depletion. The two go hand in hand, and you can't have one without the other, and that's really the energy source of the soil. So we're really running on a half-flat battery, and you can't drive your car if you've got a half-flat battery.
You can't start it, yeah, sure. Wow. All right, I want to come back to that. And energy in the soil sounds like that's more than just minerals. Now you're talking energy.
Well, it's
right?
one of the key aspects, one of the key qualities that a soil can have or needs to really function properly, and it makes everything else function in its proper balance.
God, there's such wisdom between those ears. All right, well, I'm going to come back to energy. I want to have a look at, here we are on the farm.
Yeah.
You're on the dairy farm. Young guy, you're looking at biologists, microbiologists, agronomists, right? All these different professionals, scientists, and you're looking at high nitrogen-based fertilizers, and you're looking at organics, and now you're starting to look at these rock minerals, and you're going, there's got to be a way, and you're doing tests, and you're starting to get results, right? And you're going, hey, we think we found something that works here. Pick up from there. What happened next?
As we started improving the health of the crops that we were growing and talking to our neighbours and things like that, and friends, so they sort of wanted to, well, we'll try it on our place and see if it works there as well. And so they moved forward and did that, but we found that the farmers' wives decided, well, they would grab some of that product as well and try it in their gardens.
Gotcha.
And so they were coming back and going, wow, this stuff's just so amazing. Like people with clay soil, they were using it on that and found that within a reasonable time, a reasonably short time, that the soil was changing and the plants were performing so much better, and they were like thriving instead of just surviving.
I mean, clay is so tough to grow in. My dad, when I was a young guy, bought a place in Brisbane. It had 2 clay tennis courts in the backyard. And then he thought, now I'm going to plant a lawn, right? And the amount of gypsum we used on that, never really, we were shipping in topsoil, we're doing all kinds of things.
Yes.
So with earth life in that kind of situation, what could we do for a lawn? Because, clay soils is so tough to grow in.
Well, since using EarthLife products and now information that we've gained over the years, we have found that gypsum doesn't really work in all clay situations, in all clay soil situations.
Well, we definitely found that.
And when you read the directions on the bag is you dig it in.
Yep.
We've found...
I remember that too. I was 10 years old at the time. I remember digging it in. Get to work.
So we're virtually doing a lot of the physical work in breaking up the soil, and just makes us feel good that we're digging something in, so it gives us a purpose to actually dig the soil, I guess.
Gotcha. But the digging's what's doing the benefit, not the gypsum.
Well, in most cases. So, you're getting a good workout.
Oh, man.
But we're all about making gardening easy, So you just throw it out, spread it out, water it, give it a bit of water, and walk away and leave it and let us do its job.
Okay.
And so we have found within a couple of applications, people have been able to go out and from stuff that they couldn't dig with a mattock or a crowbar, that they could push a shovel in 3 to 4 inches deep in 4 to 6 weeks.
No way.
And that's, so sometimes that might be the anomaly, but in most cases, if you do 2 or 3 applications over a 6-month period, you'll definitely have different soil, much easier soil to work with, and the plants will be so thankful and turn from striving to thriving.
Really?
Really.
Just...
Yeah, well, you see, the biology are the workers, and if we don't look after the workers in the soil, look after the biology, well, we have to do all the work. And that's what makes gardening and farming so much harder.
Yeah.
Because we're not really feeding the workers.
Gotcha. Doing it ourselves. All right, so the farmers' wives are starting to use the product. They're seeing on their lawns, their flowers, their veggies, going, this is fantastic.
So from there, as demand increased, a few of us got together and decided, well, this might be a business opportunity, and so we had to have somewhere to be able to manufacture the microbes or process the microbes and, sort of improve the blending facilities, and so we formed a company and rented a place to be able to do all this.
I mean, this is a remarkable story. I really want to get into, as much as you're willing to share, and I know this is your IP, but as much as you're willing to share of the actual manufacturing process and what goes into it, how you source the materials. Before we do that, tell me about, who this is really for. Obviously you were developing it for the dairy farm. We found the farmers' wives were using it on their gardens.
Yeah.
Where's the biggest application? Where do you see most people getting the greatest results with EarthLife now?
Well, at present, we see the major focus at present is home gardeners.
Okay.
Like we went through drought periods earlier on, and so it was difficult for farmers to purchase product because they was, not planting, or moisture was an issue, and they just couldn't afford, because they saw rock minerals as an add-on to their current fertiliser program.
Gotcha.
So it wasn't sort of the basis of their program. They just saw it as an add-on, and which may or may not give them benefit. But farmers' wives or home gardeners were catching on and seeing some amazing results. And so as EarthLife went through some major upheavals, I suppose, and losing a number of members through that period of time, I just found it easier to focus on home gardeners and that's become our bread and butter.
I want to get into that. You just mentioned there that the farmers may or may not see some benefit from that. How do you mean? I mean, does it work for farmers or not? Or sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't?
Well, it does definitely work.
Yeah.
It depends what you're looking for. Like, you're not going to grow plants twice as big, and you're not going to, get double the production.
Okay.
But we were achieving a 30% increase in production, which is a fair increase in...
That's over like a standard kind of chemical fertiliser program?
Well, using their fertiliser program and using this to, as I said earlier, it's one of the key features to actually help make everything function properly.
Yeah, okay.
So we improve the moisture and nutrient cycling in the soil and in the plant, so that by reducing the nutrient loss and reducing the moisture loss through leaching or through evaporation, the plant then gets to utilise more mineral elements to actually improve the health of the plant and improve the production. So we're actually putting more weight into every grain that, for cereal grain or people growing fruit and veggies. Every piece of fruit now weighs around about 30% heavier than it normally would if you're just using fertiliser alone.
Same size apple,
Yeah.
apple for apple, the Earthlife grown apple is 30% heavier because it's got more mineral density in the cells, and the cells aren't stretched, like you said, with the nitrogen to, just puffed up and empty. They're actually dense with nutrition.
That's exactly right. We're now
ridiculous.
Improving the nutrient density of
Wow.
whatever plants we're growing, where we're using Earthlife rock minerals.
So say we've got a fruit or veggie farmer, or a grain farmer for that matter, who would you recommend? I know this is kind of a little bit off topic because we're really talking to the home gardeners, but say you had a farmer, what would be the optimal approach in your opinion for maximising? I mean, obviously they're running a business, right? They've got to maximise their yield. They want a high quality product.
Yes.
And they also, want to minimise pests and weeds. Are you looking at a combination approach with chemical with fertilisers, with organics, and with Earthlife, or how would you approach? I mean, say you were gonna start a farm, and you were going to do that. What would you do?
Well, we would certainly look at utilising a soil test, get the soil tested, and see what the starting point is.
Yep.
But from there, because it's commercial and we're growing a lot more plants than the soil can really afford to accommodate, we need to use fertilisers.
Okay.
I'm not saying we're doing away with fertilisers.
Yep.
We need fertilisers, or we need nutrition to improve the capability of growing the plants in the soil or the medium that we're growing in. And so it's utilising the rock minerals, and we can replace, say, gypsum, lime or dolomite. So instead of using those types of products, you could use rock minerals because they will perform the same function, but improve the moisture holding capability, improve moisture penetration, so the moisture actually goes into the soil, because a lot of soils these days are becoming hydrophobic. And so water just sits on top and evaporates or runs off, and getting a lot of people with those sorts of situations. And we have found that using Earthlife rock minerals, we can change that situation, and in one case we actually changed it within 30 minutes.
What? Tell me about that.
With hydrophobic soil.
Tell me about that. What's going on?
So my sales manager was at a landscape place, and the manager there was showing him how bad the soil was that he had to work with. So he turned the hose on, he said, watch this, and so he turns the hose on, the water's just sitting on top, and he's saying, the soil's just hydrophobic, the water won't go in, and it's running off, and nothing's just really working for me. And so my sales manager goes and gets some garden mate to put on the area, gave a bit of a hose to just wet it up to activate the biology, and they went in and had a chat for half an hour. So when they came out, they grabbed the hose and put it on to see what's happened, and the owner of the business, his jaw dropped and just couldn't believe the water just disappeared straight into the soil.
Wow.
So, yeah, just some amazing stories.
So remarkable. That's so remarkable.
So he's actually now changed his whole business over to utilising the Earth Life rock minerals in his business. So he has a contract for 10,000 homes over 10 years to do with the Stockland estate up on the Sunshine Coast.
Wow.
And so he's actually written the plans up to use Earth Life rock minerals in all the work underpin the landscaping that he does there.
Gotcha.
And so he's just saying, since using Earth Life minerals, it's just made such a huge difference, using less water, less time to get the plants up to where to look after themselves, compared to the first stage where he wasn't using rock minerals.
Tell me, I mean, this is fascinating. If you were, I know we're talking to the home gardeners, people growing, beautiful lawns, flowers, veggies, natives, but say you were going to start a farm, because, I mean, the farm is really the test, right? It's you're maximising production, you're running a business, it has to produce. If your garden doesn't look that good, it might hurt your pride, but it's not going to impact on your finances, on your family.
Yeah.
But the farm, it's got to work.
That's right.
So say you guys were starting a farm, say it was going to be fruit or veggies or even grains, and you wanted to maximise your yield, you were going to be an organic farm, you wanted to be healthy, where would you start? What would you do?
Well, if we were starting our own farm or with a farm, we would look at doing a soil test to get a starting point as to where the various minerals, what levels they're at.
That makes sense. Yep.
We would then look at doing a special blends specific to that situation, so blending with the rock minerals and the biology and the processes that we do,
Yep.
to make a custom blend specific to that situation. And
Okay. So when you talk about blends, I just want to dive into that for a sec. What's the main components that go into an Earth Life product? I mean, obviously there's the rock minerals, we've mentioned that.
yes,
You've also talked about microbes,
yes,
so you actually grow.
yes, we actually culture our own
Okay.
blend of microbes.
And what else?
Well, we do a fermentation product, so that goes through a fermentation process,
Gotcha.
creating enzymes and humates,
Wow.
which really feeds the biology to help stimulate their activity, to solubilise the minerals to make it available to your plants, and so through.
Okay.
So it's the whole combination which
Starting to see it.
makes things really function
Yeah.
properly.
So this isn't just minerals.
No,
There's
it's not
the
just.
microbes there, which brings life, and then the fermented products, which feed the microbes, which then break down the minerals, make it bioavailable for the plants.
Well, rock minerals is just an inert product, like it is rock.
Gotcha.
It's not water soluble.
Yeah.
So you've got to have a process to make those rock minerals available to the rest of the biology in your soil, and to then be taken up by plants for their processes.
Okay. So what I'm hearing is you wouldn't be adding, chemical fertilizers, for example. So I mean, do you see a need for that? Is there a place for that where you go, actually, no, that's really important. We need that for something that Earth Life can't do?
Well, there's various components that we need in higher amounts for specific cropping situations. So we would blend some fertilisers, like some of the conventional fertilisers, with the rock minerals,
Yeah.
to provide sufficient nutrition for the plant to grow to its potential.
So tell me, what's the difference between, there's a big move towards certified organic in Australia now and worldwide. European Union's huge on organic. It's becoming more popular in the US and even starting into different parts in Asia, but certainly massive in Australia. What, say I was a farmer and I'm looking at what I can put on and I want to be certified organic, what I can put on my crops. what's available to me and what's not in the conventional, earth life aside. But just help me understand that.
Well, if you wanted to be certified organic, you're allowed to use certain products,
Yep.
which we don't use in our processes, like manures or blood and bone or various animal byproducts.
Okay.
We just believe that there are certain question marks over these products of where they're being sourced from that's going to contain contaminants that may impact either on soil, animal and human health, or even the environment.
Really? So if I've got an certified organic, then I can still use like animal manure or actual parts of animals ground up, right? Which is what blood and bone is essentially.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that have to come from biodynamic or natural grass-fed animals, or can that come from?
Well, not necessarily.
Are you serious?
Well, from my understanding, they are able to access manures from feedlotted situations, and provided it goes through their composting processes, it can now be certified organic.
Unbelievable. So what's your concern with that? You said, look, questionable supply. What's the big concerns there that people probably don't know? I had no idea.
Well, only recently we had the scare with the rock melons, which various disease that was contaminated the rock melons, and some of these diseases can only be formed inside the animal gut situation, which is then passed out in the manures.
Really?
And so while it may go through an organic or a composting process, it doesn't necessarily mean that those organisms have been totally eliminated or are no longer viable.
So the pathogens have been able to survive the composting and then got onto the rock.
Well, that's a possibility.
Jeez. What about chemicals making it through that process from the animal into the?
Well, the same again, so whether they're, in a feedlotted situations, people are using antibiotics
Yeah.
and using wormicides and hormones.
Yep.
So, they don't just stay in the animal. So they're being passed out into the manure or urine, and so that's what we're composting, and we're putting it in our gardens or on our farmland. So if I was doing my own farm, I definitely wouldn't be using any animal byproducts or manures on my farm.
I get that. Wow. All right. It's got the label on the packet. It says certified organic. You think that's going to mean something, right?
Well, certified organic doesn't mean you have to do anything. You can do nothing, providing you don't use chemicals or the prohibited substances that are banned from in an organic certified situation. So if you're selected land that, as we are saying in Australia, is 50%, at least 50% mineral depleted, and you don't do anything and you grow veggies or crops on it, where are we getting the nutrition from in that situation? It's still certified organic,
because you haven't put a chemical.
but it's not going to provide the nutrition that we need to improve our health or, other body functions.
Man, I thought compost and manure was the way to go, huh?
Well, that's what everybody is sort of promoting, that,
Yeah.
this is a way to improve the organic situation in your soil. But organic material is not the only thing that soil needs to function. Microbes need minerals to combine with organic material to build biologically active carbon, and the carbon helps control moisture and temperature in your soil. So tests have been shown that by using a rock mineral situation versus a fully conventional fertiliser system, soils can be up to 10 degrees cooler in summer than the conventional fertilising system.
Really?
So that's just to do with the biology, things functioning properly.
Yeah.
And so by getting the minerals and biology in, we actually stimulate better root structure, so we can enhance the organic material in the soil through natural processes by enhancing much larger root systems and building it from root plant material instead of using fertilisers.
Unbelievable. Let's have a look at how do you actually make this stuff? What's the where do you source your product? What goes into it, and how do you come up with here's a bag of earth life, right? Like, how did that happen? What's the steps?
Well, the steps to manufacturing the product is that we source specific minerals from specific areas because of their paramagnetic value, which is the energy source of the material.
Hang on a minute. So you're not just talking about the actual, what's that thing? The periodic table. The elements in the you're talking about the energetic properties of the material you source as well.
That's right. So,
talk to me about that.
Yeah. So you're not
time for more education.
So you're not going to find minerals on their own. They're never on their own alone. They're all combined with other materials.
Okay.
So if you're looking for phosphate, it's going to be can be combined with calcium or iron or magnesium, a range of other mineral elements. So we're sourcing materials that are going to have high energy value to put back into the soil to feed and benefit the beneficial biology. And we've also found that minerals, while stimulating beneficial biology, also reduces the effects of pathogens in the soil.
Really?
So it's really important that we source the right materials to create the right environment for biological health, plant health, which then leads to animal and human health.
Wow. All right, so you're sourcing, and essentially this is like it's boulders on the back of a truck, or it's like, what do you mean, rock minerals? What's that look like?
Well, the rock minerals crushed down to virtually like fine sand.
Okay.
So what we're calling, it's classed as 1 mil minus.
Yep.
So, like if you're using rocks, like stuff as big as your thumbnail, for instance, well, that's going to take a long time for that to be worked on by biology to actually become available to your plants.
Yeah.
So you need smaller materials or smaller size components for the microbes to work on and make it available to plants in a timely manner.
Gotcha. Okay. So I'm imagining like big bags of sand now, right?
Yeah, sort of like fine sand, about what they call 1 mil minus.
Yeah. Okay. And you're getting that from quarries and different suppliers?
Well, yes, we get the material from quarries, which is virtually a leftover product from because they use much larger materials for building roads and stuff like that.
Yeah. Okay.
So we're getting that size material.
Yep.
It's transported to our facility. So we get a range of different mineral components. Mm-hmm. They're stored at our facility till we're ready to blend them into the various products that we make. And so while that's happening, we're culturing our own biology, the beneficial microbes and fungi.
Tell me about that. How do you do that? This is so cool.
So we have a special food source for them to grow out. So we actually combine the microbes and fungi with the food source. Mm-hmm. So we wet that up to, provide, because microbes need moisture and they need a certain temperature range for them to function at their optimum. And so we add moisture to it in the mixing process. We then spread them out on mats, on racks in our special room, which is temperature controlled.
Oh, so this isn't like out in the paddock or something, or in a big bucket in the...
No, not anything like that. It's
so I'm imagining a big pile of compost or something with...
No, it's a lot more precise than that. And so they're laid out on mats and they're turned every day to distribute the heat and aerate them because we're working with anaerobic microbes.
Okay, so that means they need oxygen.
So they need oxygen, and so we're turning them to aerate and distribute the heat evenly through the mix, and usually that matures in about 7 days.
Okay.
So they're then packed up and put into storage till we're ready to use them.
Okay. So we've got the sand, the rock minerals. Then you've got the microbes, which sound like it's quite a process to grow those, and it sounds like it's quite a precise kind of process. And then there was the third bit that you mentioned, which was the
Fermentation.
fermentation. All right. So how do you do that?
So with the fermentation process, we have 2,000 litre vats, stainless steel vats that we use so we keep the pristine. You know, we don't want contamination.
It was food grade stainless steel vats.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
And so we use microbes, and again another special food source, and that's adding water to that to sort of is the medium that we're using now to create that fermentation process. And so that is aerated and temperature controlled as well, so that we grow them at an ultimate in the ultimate situation. And so that goes through for usually about 14 days for that process to mature, and so we then drain off the liquid fraction, and we treat that so that we actually stabilise that liquid, so that we are able to put it in storage.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you don't and you keep it live, you can't go putting caps on, otherwise it blows 20 litre drums up.
Whoa. Okay. Of course, because it's still fermenting.
Yeah, it's still fermenting.
Right.
And so
you need to halt that process.
yeah, so you've got to
So you can actually ship it.
stabilise
Yeah,
that
yeah,
process
of course.
so that you can actually
Got it.
store it.
Yep.
And then the residue from that material is actually utilised into one of our products to make Garden Delight.
Okay. So it sounds like there's 4 main ingredients then. There's the rocks, the sand itself, the minerals. Then there's the microbes. Then from the fermentation process, you get the liquid and the residue.
Yeah.
And then so you can mix these 4 things in different combinations depending on, the application. And that's
Exactly.
what you guys have got really good at, figuring out what application or what soil or what plants need what combination of these ingredients that you produce.
Well, when it comes to the home gardening situation,
Yep.
we suggest that they actually use 2 or 3 products in combination to achieve the ultimate,
Yeah, right.
what we want to achieve. If we were to just put it all into one product, you would sort of have to use 10 kilo per square metre
Yeah.
to address all the issues.
Make sure you covered everything.
Yeah, so we do it in a easier way, I suppose, so that we do it in stages, and so by improving soil structure with Garden Mate, especially in clay soils. If you have a sandy soil, Garden Delight is the one with a lot more humates in it, and it helps pull sand particles tighter together to reduce moisture and nutrient loss.
Really?
And so we improve plant health, and we have people that testify to that. It's just amazing to hear their stories, because they use organics, or they putting organic materials in, but it's being used or disappearing as fast as they can put it in, and it's just one of their frustrations when they find that they've got sandy soils to work with.
Yeah, right.
And people who use the Earthlife products like Garden Delight, like some have come back and said after 2 heavy applications at a kilo a square metre, they've turned their sandy soil into loamy soil in 3 months.
Really?
So
So what's the general? I mean, if we were to categorise common soils in Australia, we've already talked about clay soils and sandy soils, and then I know we've got red dirt and black dirt.
Well, they can either still be sandy or clay or a loamy type soil.
Yep.
And a loamy soil is sort of the more ideal type soil because it's easier to work with. It sort of has a good soil structure.
Yep.
But again, loamy soil is still mineral depleted. And this is what we've sort of got to come to understand, that while we may think we have a good soil and things are performing okay, we really don't know the potential of that soil if we get some rock minerals, get the earth life rock minerals into it. And we've actually blown. People are just so amazed, they just virtually gobsmacked, really.
Well, give me some examples of that. I'd love to hear from. I mean, look, what are we growing? We've got flowers. There's lawns, fruit and veggies, of course, and maybe like natives.
Yeah,
natives. Things come to mind. Does
Australian
native. All those things?
Australian natives love our product.
Yeah, right.
You know, like we've all been led to believe that natives have learnt to survive in Australian conditions because of low phosphate soils. Mm-hmm. But we're finding, as we use earth life rock minerals and we have natural rock phosphate included in our mixes, by providing that bit extra, and it's only made available to the plants as the plants tell the microbes as they interact with the biology, because plants use up to 30% of their energy to stimulate and feed microorganisms. Really? So, you know, if the microorganisms aren't there, the plants utilising, well, they're putting that energy there hoping that they're going to get a return, and if they're not there, that's why a lot of plants struggle and only just survive, because they're not getting the return on the energy expended. Like if we put $1,000 into a bank account and expecting 10% interest and we don't get it, we can soon shift it, but plants can't move.
Yeah.
And so they stress.
Yeah, wow.
And so we're finding, so even Australian natives love our product, and so we get a much more vibrant colour, more vibrant flowers, and which then improves the animal life, bird life that come into those gardens, because there's now better quality nectar and pollen available.
And the birds know, huh?
Yeah, the birds know, they can sense it out.
And the
insects and that can all source it out, but if you have nutrient dense plants, you don't have to. We certainly have reduced insect pest attack.
That's so cool. So tell me, what would happen if we? I mean, this is 20 odd years or more of you piecing this together, working with scientists and experts, and reading books and running tests and trials to come to these kind of formulas. What would happen if we had? Because we've got these four main ingredients that you mentioned. We've got the rocks, the microbes, and then the two products from the, I'm just trying to remember it all.
From the
fermentation.
Yeah.
And if you were just to, if I say took a handful of the sand and put that on my soil, would that be any benefit?
Not really.
All right, because the microbes aren't there to break it down.
That's right.
So then if I just put the microbes into my soil without the minerals or the fermentation, would that be a benefit?
Not really.
Because then there's no
there's not sufficient minerals.
Not sufficient minerals to feed the microbes. Yeah. And they need to break it down. So then say we put the fermentation into the soil on its own. Is that going to have much of a benefit?
Not really. Because again, it'll
microbes.
Like as with most products, we see some benefit from using. That's what happens when we use water-soluble fertilisers, whether they're liquid or granular, or whether we use organic-based materials. We see benefit from using all these products, but really it's only addressing symptoms and not addressing the core issue in our soil. Well, a lot of the things like herbicides or pesticides are virtually symptoms of the poor mineral and biological aspects of our soil. It's low energy. So this is why we need high energy rock materials to go back in to recharge the energy source in the soil, like virtually recharging the battery to make things function properly.
All right, let's talk about that. What do you really mean there? What do you mean low energy soil? How do you recharge the batteries of, I mean, this is earth, right? How do you recharge the batteries of dirt is what rocks, what?
Well,
what's the measure of the energy? How do we, let's make it really practical.
The energy, that measurement of energy is actually called paramagnetism, or that's a term of a much larger component called magnetic susceptibility.
And is that a real thing, or is this like pseudoscience kind of?
Well, a lot of people think it is pseudoscience, but people like geologists and physicists and archaeologists and paleontologists actually use these terms in their field of expertise because everything, rocks, plants, animals, humans, all give off energy. Yeah. And so that can be measured. So it's very low. It's not like we're measuring 240 volts.
Yeah, sure.
But it's very low energy, and different rock materials actually give off different energy levels, and that's why geologists use that measurement when they're drilling through the earth. They can note the changes and at what depth those changes are at, and therefore get an idea of the rock formations underneath the soils.
Yeah, right. And they've got a little device, I guess, that can measure the magnetic susceptibility.
Yes.
Of different soils or different minerals.
Yeah, so as they're pulling them out, they can measure those at, and they know what depth they're at, so they can note the changes. Archaeologists and that use it to map fence lines or canals or streets in buried cities.
Ah, got it. So if I was an archaeologist, for example, I could drill here and drill here, and I could say, hey, at this depth, there's a very different energetic level of the rock here. Yeah. Maybe there's a roadway here.
Yes.
Right, and over here was someone's yard, and it wasn't.
Yeah,
it was a fence line or a. And then we can start to dig it up, and they've already started to map out the underground city that's all now buried.
Yes, exactly. So that.
Wow.
So it's been used by other experts in their fields. Yep. It's just not talked about much in horticulture or agriculture.
Gotcha.
And so the easiest way for people to understand it is, as I say, we talk about energy, and the easiest way to help understand that is referring it to like a battery to your car, because if you have a half-flat battery, you can't start your car, you can't drive your car, and so it needs recharging, or you need to jump start with a battery that's fully charged to get your car moving. So by recharging the energy in our soils, we actually make water and fertiliser and everything function so much better that improves soil health, plant health, which then also improves air and water quality and ultimately the environment we're living in. So if we look at the energy paramagnetism, it's the soil, it's one of the soil qualities that a soil can possess. It's, that is really, it helps utilise moisture and nutrient more effectively. So if we have low energy in our soils, plants are struggling to perform utilising lower energy levels to grow. So therefore we're more open to insects and disease issues.
But hang on a minute. Don't plants get their energy from the sun? It's like chlorophyll, right? I learned something in high school, photosynthesis. Isn't that taking sunlight energy, turning it into chemical energy? Isn't that where they get their energy from? You're saying they get their energy from the minerals.
Well, they get it from both sources.
Okay.
So you need energy from the soil to help with nutrient flow in the plant. And so that's why we need to increase the mineral content of our soils, so the plant now has more minerals to work in that manufacturing facility called photosynthesis process.
Okay.
It's just like, if I only give you sticks and straw to build a house, you can only build a stick and straw house. But if I give you cement and sand as well, with the sticks and straw, you can now build a cement house.
Gotcha.
So a much stronger structure, whereas, and I know we're only talking 4 elements there, but with plants, instead of only working with a dozen to 20 mineral elements, and because the soil's so low, it's they're not able to access those because of the low energy levels. They can't draw them up. So if we provide much more broad spectrum mineral elements, so over 60 minerals, and the beneficial biology to go with that. The plants now have more minerals to work with, and in photosynthesis process is now able to build complex sugars instead of only simple sugars. And pest insects can't digest complex sugars, it's too rich for them.
Wow.
So simple sugars is their food source. So if a plant's only building simple sugars and we've used a high nitrogen fertiliser, we've stretched the cell structure, so the simple sugars now ooze between the cells because they're not, they're only loosely connected, not packed in real tight. Insects are attracted to that. That's why we have sap suckers.
Yeah.
Because it's now easy. They don't have to use a lot of energy, and so they get a return on the energy they expend so that they can function. But if it's complex sugars and they're trying to extract energy, it's now they've got to expend more energy.
Yeah, but for us, for humans and mammals, for animals.
Well, complex sugars is our food source.
Gotcha.
So that's what we really need to be growing.
Carbohydrates, what we eat for energy.
Well, that's what we really need to be growing our foods towards, that quality is complex sugars, nutrient density, so that we, because simple sugars is not really beneficial for our complex digestive systems. So they talk about fructose as a sugar that is not really beneficial for humans, but it should actually be utilised by the plant to help build sucrose, which is the complex sugar.
Ah, okay.
So, yes, there's a whole range of issues as to why we need to be, if we're especially growing our own fruit and veggies, say in our own home gardens, we need to be using minerals, not just growing them organically, but actually take it up another level and grow that nutrient density, get the minerals in. The flavour is just so much better. You really haven't tasted decent fruit and veggies until you've got Earth Life minerals in your system.
There's so many people, my wife talks about all the time, what tomatoes used to taste like and what tomatoes taste like now. She's like, I don't even want to eat them anymore. It's like, what's the point?
Well, again, my sales manager can't eat store-bought tomatoes, whether they're organic or otherwise.
Yeah.
But he can eat tomatoes grown at his place using Earth Life minerals.
So let's have a look at the home gardener who's growing fruit and veggies for their family. What can they expect? And have you got some results of people who've been using, I'm sure you have, all the time you've been doing this. Give me some examples.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the people here in Toowoomba during Carnival of Flowers have won the best productive garden, I think, 5 times now. And they've been using Earth Life rock minerals for about 8 years. So there is a transition period, but they have just really loved Earth Life rock minerals. They have people ask them, what do you fertilise with? And they tell people, well, we don't fertilise, we feed the soil.
Yeah, right.
Feed the soil.
It's a whole different mindset, isn't it?
That's right. Start with the foundation. Build the foundation and get the foundation right with getting minerals and the beneficial biology in there, getting the right nutrition. And plants just function so much better, and we get the minerals we need, we get the enzymes that we need from that system as well, and it's much better for us. And I've had people who've had physically and mentally challenged children start growing their veggies on Earth Life rock minerals and come back in 2 or 3 months later and say their demeanour or their behaviour has changed so dramatically positively.
Really?
Yeah, they're much easier to
Wow.
to work with, to handle. They're just finding life a lot easier to deal with.
And this is, it's not changing their diet or their habit. This is changing the dirt, the soil that their food is grown in.
That's right. It's just improving the health of the soil.
Wow.
To improve the health of the mineral content of the food we're eating.
Wow. It's remarkable. So what about in terms of yield? From when, say I've got some good soil now, maybe I'm in a, even imagine northeast New South Wales with all that rich black volcanic soil, right? You'd think that would have to be pretty good. Is earth life still going to be beneficial in that kind of an environment where they've already got great soil?
Well, people say that they've got great soil, and most definitely soils in certain areas are going to be better than soils in other areas.
Sure.
But it still comes back to the basic issue of mineral depletion, as we talked about in the 1992 Earth Summit, on that soils worldwide are mineral deficient compared to over 100 years ago. So
is that just in like soil that's being used for agriculture though? Like if we go into the rainforest or into, something that's just been left, like native bushland, for example, is that the same scenario there?
Well, in those situations, yes, all soils are mineral depleted. So whether it's all being used for agriculture, whether it's gardens or whether it's rainforest or whatever, the soils are being mineral depleted because rain is a leaching agent. Water leaches minerals. So as water moves through the soil profile, it's taking mineral elements with it.
Yeah.
It's just certain situations or certain practices are actually accelerating that mineral depletion issue, and so water-soluble salt-based fertilisers are accelerating that mineral depletion issue because it's creating chemical reactions and releasing minerals, and that's how a lot of farming is happening, is why they're getting benefit from using those types, because it's still pulling minerals out that the plants are able to pick up before it gets leached away, and if they have a heavy rainfall, well, that leaches those minerals past the root zone.
Gotcha.
And
that
so
totally
plants
makes
can
sense.
struggle.
And that's why in the short term they get increased yield, but then year on year the soil quality gets worse and the production, the yield gets
Yeah, and so we have to use more fertilisers to try and
release more
maintain or increase the production.
So, I mean, it seems so obvious when you explain it. Why don't people know this?
Well, I think
I had no idea, but
we are all glued to our TV sets or we're reading information that is primarily geared around the NPK theory, which is over 120 years old or something.
What's NPK?
NPK is nitrogen, phosphate, potassium.
Okay.
So they're the three major elements that are used in our fertilisers.
Yep.
And that's elements that they see in plants, but the major element in plants is actually calcium, but you don't hear a lot about calcium because they say our soils, contain a fair bit of calcium,
yep,
but it's not necessarily available.
Uh-huh.
And so by using the Earth Life rock minerals, so one of our products contains 14% calcium as sufficient minerals, and the biology then solubilises that to make it available to plants along with the silica. So in our product we have 36% silica. The earth crust has got a lot of silica in it as well, or contains silica, but again it's not available. It's locked up, and so you need certain processes to make those products or minerals available to plants. Wow. And so the calcium, see, if we take the calcium out of the human body, well, we wouldn't be able to stand up.
Yeah, of course.
And so
no bones.
Plants need calcium for that same purpose.
Structure.
Structure, part of their, being able to stand upright. But silica is also important because it thickens the cell wall structure and also makes it tough, the cell walls tougher, which also makes it harder for insect pests to penetrate.
Yeah.
So there's a whole combination of things that are happening when you use Earth Life rock minerals. It's not just about the minerals itself, but specific minerals within that are contained within the product that all work together, has a synergistic effect, working together to produce much healthier plants.
Wow. This is remarkable. All right, so we've looked at fruit and veggie gardens, we've looked at native botanicals. Tell me about, how does it work for flower gardens?
So in flower gardens, we have a number of people who use our products, and a guy here in Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers this year took our first prize for best front yard and best flower garden.
Tell me about Carnival of Flowers in Toowoomba, because it's like a big deal. I mean, I know people coming from all around the world to see Carnival of Flowers in Toowoomba when it's on, because it's just such a remarkable, I mean, it's spectacular, right?
Well, the Carnival of Flowers in Toowoomba really is spectacular because it's opening private gardens open up to the public. So you can go and visit what people are doing in their own backyards, front yards for that matter, and see some amazing gardens. They really are truly spectacular, and we're attracting international visitors here to Toowoomba. And the Toowoomba Carnival of Flowers has actually won, not only on a national level but international level, awards for best festival, things like that. So, but a number of the gardeners that enter into that competition use Earthlife rock minerals, and so a large majority take out the awards because they're using our products, because it improves the health of the plants, more vibrant colours, more improved fragrance if you're growing fragrant flowers. And so a lot of the judges actually ask people what products they use, and they are amazed at the difference that Earthlife rock minerals is making to people's gardens.
Well, how does that work for flowers? What's going on in the soil there?
So I have another lady who has 470 roses, so she's a bit of a rose fanatic. She's been growing roses for over 40 years.
Gee.
And she's only just started using Earthlife rock minerals 3 years ago, and she's noticing less aphids, less black spot issues. And now, after using it for 3 years, I think there was 2 plants with some black spot, and they were only on the lower leaves anyway, which is where they're doing their job. They're breaking down the old decaying leaves, which are the old ones anyway, but it's not on the other leaves, and they were just, leaves were shining like she's been out and polished them. No aphids at all, and so it's just a whole lot less time having to look after roses, because it's a big job pruning. So you can just imagine this lady, 470 roses, when pruning time comes. But she has all the various varieties, the high teas, the David Austins, the heritage. Garden just looks magnificent, and she has people come from everywhere, open garden time, to come and see her garden. Wow.
So what's happening again? What's happening in the soil? How's Earthlife able to stop? But she's put this on. She's using this product, and now all of a sudden the aphids have left. The black spots have, not. Her leaves are shiny. I guess the petals and the smell is the.
Well, flowers are more fragrant. Colours are more vibrant.
So how's that happening? What's going on in the soil that's allowing the roses to be that much more vibrant and resilient and healthy?
Well, the Earthlife rock minerals has opened up the clay soil, so it's made the soil more friable. So that
What's that mean, friable?
Friable means a softer soil, so you're sort of moving towards a more loamy soil, so it's easier to work with. Because clay, if it's compacted, is very tight, very hard to dig, so difficult for water and fertilisers to move in to the soil, and so that's why people move to a more liquid foliar type spraying in those sorts of situations. But again, it's not sufficient nutrition to allow the plant to grow to its potential, and therefore we put up with symptoms of poor nutrition like insects and disease issues, because the plant's only able to build simple sugars instead of complex sugars, and doesn't have good cell structure. We have like a stretched cell structure, poor cell structure, and so insects and disease are able to do their thing. They're being attracted by an unhealthy plant, and their job is to take out unhealthy plants. That's the way Mother Nature works. She only wants the best to survive, to reproduce the same varieties.
Gotcha.
So Annette Russell, who's 470 roses, is saying, first time in 40 years, she hasn't had to use a fungicide spray for black spot
Really?
for the last 18 months, 2 years now.
Wow. That's remarkable.
And she's not the only one. There's so many others that are telling me the same story. Like my sales manager lives up a valley. He sees the mist roll in, come up the valley towards him. The moisture just settles on the leaves. And so when he was planting them, neighbours were telling him, oh, you'll never grow roses here, like black spot's such a big issue, you know, it's just so difficult, so they've given up.
Yep.
Well, he only has about 7 roses, which are being handed down from his parents, and he's been using Earthlife rock minerals, not a black spot on them, no aphids, just unbelievable.
Wow. So it's clearly amazing I mean, if you can grow roses with it, you can grow any flowers, right?
Well, you can grow azaleas, camellias, rhododendrons, you know, hibiscus, any plant. Like the Earthlife rock mineral product is suitable for all plants, like orchids, all your annuals, virtually any plant, even ferns. Hare's foot,
Really?
those that people say that are, you know, really touchy and finicky or whatever.
Yep.
I've got people that show plants at various agricultural shows, horticultural shows, and they use the Earthlife rock mineral products and just can't get over the health and the colour
Wow.
of the plants.
Because you look at, I mean, ferns, bromeliads, orchids as well, you mentioned. But, you know, anything that's growing in a greenhouse, they're a very specific environment and they're very, I mean, just exquisite looking plants.
Yeah.
But growing them is another story, right?
Oh,
So
that's
you
right.
make good success with Earthlife on those plants as well? It's more sensitive or delicate, or I won't say fussy. What's the word I'm looking for?
Or
You know the word.
finicky. Well, I've had people, like, again, my sales manager, he used to work for 2 major distribution companies, and so would have free samples to give to stores or for himself, and they would virtually just go in the corner, since he got onto Earthlife products, and just found Earthlife products just so easy to use. Like, you don't have to worry about whether you're going to burn the plants or not,
Can you
whether you're going to
overdo
apply
it?
too much. Not really.
Just becomes economically inefficient to use too much. But
Yeah, like some of our products that have a bit more nutrition, like for fruiting plants or lawns, you wouldn't necessarily go using those on your orchids or those specialised plants.
yeah, well, you've got the right mixture for the right plants.
Yes, and so he found, because he had orchids that were difficult flowering, they didn't seem to want to flower with what he was using before, so he started using Earthlife products on, and within 2 to 3 weeks he said the orchids put up a couple of flower spikes.
Oh, wow.
And the more he uses the product, the improvement in the flowers, you know, the quality of the flowers are bigger each season.
Wow.
They just last longer, and it's just become so easy. You just chuck it out on them, give them a bit of a water, or water them first and then throw it out, and just wait for the results.
This is so cool. What about lawns? What about grass? I mean, grasses, and again, I know it depends on the soil, right, as to
Yeah.
what product you're going to use, but what kind of results have you seen on, you get good lawns out of this as well?
Oh, well, I've had people who have lawn competitions in the street, and so one guy, he used Earthlife products, and while his neighbours were using high nitrogen fertilisers, and so when the 45-degree summer heat came along, all those people that were using the high nitrogen fertilisers all got burnt off. And so they're trying to keep their lawns alive by pouring the water on, watering every second day sort of thing, thinking that. But the guy who's used the Earthlife products, his lawn was still as green as, you just can't get over the difference that it makes.
Wow.
See, I had a guy who came and saw me over 9 years ago, and he told me he was reading and researching how to grow and maintain lawns. And so you could tell he was a real lawn fanatic.
Yeah.
And so he'd been gardening for over 30 years, entering into
Wow.
garden competitions, and so he used to win various categories. And that was not in Toowoomba, so that's in another town. And he was saying all the research said using lawn fertilisers that it had at least 20% nitrogen. Mm-hmm. So I had some photos of lawns that used Earthlife products, and our lawn fertiliser only contains 4% nitrogen.
Okay.
And I said, so, you know, the air
I just heard a bunch of people gasp then. 4% nitrogen for the lawn, how could that ever work, right?
Well, I told him the air we breathe is 78% nitrogen.
Uh-huh.
So once you improve the soil, get the minerals and biology in the soil, and we have some of those species of microbes are able to fix free air nitrogen into the soil, because there's those that occur naturally anyway, but not all of them can be cultured. So we culture ones that can be, and so we actually improve that nutrient cycling, tapping into a natural resource. You know, 78% nitrogen of the air we breathe is, or of the air we breathe, 78% of it is nitrogen. So plants can utilise that the same as they utilise the carbon dioxide out of the air. Yeah. And so by using that process, we use a whole lot less water, because that's the big bugbear about lawns, is that they use so much water, and so people are moving away from lawns and putting in artificial grass. But if you know, we can grow a green, healthy lawn and use less water, it's much better for the environment, it's better for our health. And if you have a nice soft lawn, nothing like walking on it on bare feet. And that way you actually earth the body to rid of static electricity from our bodies.
Built up energy.
Yeah. Anyway, this guy came back after using our product, only 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, he rang me up and said, in my 30 years of gardening, of all the products he's used, he's never seen a product work like this.
Wow.
So he got the green colour, didn't get the excessive growth, which high nitrogen fertilisers, you know, makes it grow sort of more vertically.
Yep.
So reduce that, and since then he hasn't used any other fertilisers other than the Earthlife range of products.
Wow. So tell me about some of the Earthlife products, because I know you've got different products for different applications.
Yes.
Give me the run through of the main ones.
So Garden Mate is our primary product.
That's the star of the show, right?
So that's the start of the show for home gardeners, and all the other products are utilising that as the base. So it's 60 mineral elements, over 30 beneficial microbe and fungi species, with the humates and enzymes in it. So it's only a small amount in that one, because it's more about the minerals and the microbes and find that it works really well in clay soils and sets up the foundation in most situations. So you can use it in potting mix.
Yep.
And it's addressing that mineral depletion, biological depletion issue in our soils. So it's about getting the foundation, setting up the foundation.
Perfect. So Garden Mate, that's your go-to. That's for setting up the foundation. Yeah. Especially good in clay soils. And
especially
good everywhere.
Good everywhere. It can be used in all situations, and we suggest that you use it in all situations. And then you add to that Garden Delight.
Hang on a second. So then Garden Mate for flowers, fruit and veggies, lawns, natives.
Yeah, so you use it as a base to set up the foundation, you know, improve that soil mineral situation.
And great name too, right? Because if you've got a garden, this sounds like it's going to be your best mate.
It's your best mate, and people refer to it as the best gardener's mate. Garden Mate is the gardener's mate.
All right, so what's the next product? What else do you have?
So then Garden Delight is using the composted plant material, so we don't use manures or blood and bone or other animal byproducts, so it's vegan friendly as well. No foul smell, so don't upset the neighbours. So it's the one with the highest humates in it, so works really great in sandy soils. And that's the one that Garden Mate works there too, but Garden Delight seems to work so much better because of that higher humate content. And so pulling the sand particles tied together, increasing the root structure of the soil, of the plants to, and so we build organic material through that way instead of having to add extras like compost or manures, and they're beneficial, but it's about addressing that issue first so it actually makes the things function properly.
Gotcha. So if you had someone with sandy soil, they've got their Garden Mate as the base, they're using Garden Delight with the extra humates to bind the sand particles tighter together so it can water retention, root structure, all the benefits. Would they then need to go and get some manure or some compost or, is that even necessary?
Well, not necessary, no.
Gotcha.
So...
Even beneficial?
Well, not necessarily.
It's like take it or leave it, right?
Yeah, like I've got people that just use Earthlife products exclusively and don't use anything else. They may be using some compost because they're now composting their own material using Earthlife products in that, so they're enhancing their composting.
Creating the cycle.
Yes. And so they just leave the manures behind now because, why complicate things and why add a product if it's not really necessary? Because Earthlife is all about making gardening easy, making it simple, and getting maximum result.
Wow.
For less effort.
Right, so Garden Mate is gardener's best mate. Garden Delight is an absolute delight, especially in sandy soil.
Yes, all situations. So we use it as a natural plant food source. So even if you're in a clay soil and you want to be organic, you would use Garden Mate, Garden Delight in those situations. You can use it on your veggies, but we've actually come up with another one that was developed more specifically for veggie gardens, called Veggie Mate.
Makes sense. Got it.
So, and that was developed out of a guy working in schools. Kids in schools, we can't have chemicals, sort of workplace health and safety issues, so we can't have manures. And so we started using Earthlife minerals, and so we started with Garden Mate and Garden Delight, so we improved the soil structure, had the food source for them, so that was going well, but he's working with young kids, like even preschoolers, and he was saying, can't we simplify it and put the two products together? Well, we can, so we've got to come up with a new name, so hence we called it Veggie Mate.
Okay.
And so we get the combination or the best of both worlds of those two products. And in schools, it just worked a treat. So we were working with over 160 schools and daycare centres.
Wow.
And they were growing fruit and veggies, as good as you'd find in the supermarket.
Wow.
Broccoli, corn, tomatoes, beans. It was just amazing. And kids, because they were involved in the gardening and the growing, they loved to eat what they were growing.
Yeah.
Whereas, they were growing stuff that they'd never heard about at home. Yeah. And kids are now asking, Mum, can we get some of this or get some of that because of their gardening experience at school.
So beautiful.
So kids eating their veggies.
And the thing I love about this, as you mentioned a few times, with the high nitrogen fertilisers, stretching the cell structure, making it weak, but also not mineral dense or not nutrient dense. So for the same size, bean or broccoli or zucchini or capsicum or whatever it is, the ones grown on Earthlife are actually heavier because they're more nutrient dense. They've got the minerals in them that we need to be healthy, rather than just a puffed up, bloated, empty cell.
So we're finding broccoli and spinach and things like that are now much sweeter instead of having that bitter taste.
Really?
That you would normally experience when you buy from, the normal fruit shops.
Amazing.
And that's due to the complex sugars. So you have the sugars we need, but now in a form that our bodies can utilise much better to improve our...
So let me get this straight. It looks better, grows better, smells better for the flowers, doesn't have any pests, doesn't have weeds, makes the soil better to grow, and the stuff actually tastes sweeter and better.
Exactly. Like, you know, what
As if I
10-year-old...
wasn't already convinced.
What 10-year-old would normally eat spinach raw,
Wow.
you know?
Gee, oh boy. That's remarkable. That is absolutely remarkable. All right, so they're the three core products.
So that's those three products,
Yep.
and then we start adding a bit of fertiliser and some of the major trace elements for flowering, fruiting and lawn.
Yep.
So those general categories, because they need a bit more of those elements. So we've still got the 60 minerals and the 30 beneficial microbe and fungi species. We're just now adding a bit extra nutrition because flowering plants need more energy than greens and herbs, and fruiting plants need more energy again. So we're providing, or certainly need more nutrition
Yep.
to grow that produce. And so we add a little bit of fertiliser with the base rock minerals and microbes. And by doing that, we actually, while it's sitting, waiting to be shipped out, microbes are working on that fertiliser and transferring it, so it's now becoming more bioactive. So when the home gardener puts it out on their garden, it just reacts
It's ready to go.
so much quicker,
Wow.
and we're seeing much greater responses.
Wow. So do you have a name for that product as well?
Oh yeah, it's really difficult. It's called flower blend.
Flower blend.
And then we
Alright.
have fruit blend,
Got it.
and
So
we have lawn blend.
And they're all specific mixes for the requirements of those plants.
Well, to some degree, but we're finding people run out of one of the other products, say, oh, well, we'll just throw a bit of this on,
Yeah.
and they're finding that it works.
Yeah, sure.
You know, so if you're using fruit blend on flowers, you probably wouldn't use it at quite the same application rate, unless it's a gross feeder like hibiscus or roses, or some of those plants need higher potassium, so people are using fruit blend on those situations.
Gotcha. So it's not like you can't use one for the other. I mean, it's all got the, like you said, the
Yeah.
60 beneficial minerals, the 30
Yeah,
beneficial microbes and fungi.
yeah. Or fungi.
Fungi. You're a fungi. All right, awesome. So now we've got, I can't remember them all. But what I really love about this is the name of the product really indicates what it's for.
What you use it
it's
for.
It's not complex,
Yeah,
right? This is,
exactly.
you want to keep gardening simple.
Yeah.
You mean it.
So that's how the names have come about, because it's major categories. So our fruit blend can be used on all fruiting plants, so not just citrus, because it's got an orange coloured label. But it can be used on stone fruit. It can be used on your apples and pears. It can be used on pawpaws. It can be used on tomatoes, beans, brassicas,
Grapes.
grapes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how can we buy this stuff? How can people, you know, I mean, I'm watching this and I'm going, this is amazing. I want it now. How can I get it?
Well, Earthlife supplies a number of nurseries, garden centres, produce stores. So it's a matter of going online and checking out those ones specifically, or if there's a nursery near you that you want to would like to get it stocked, go and ask them if they would stock the product. Otherwise, go onto our website and check out the deals that we have on our website.
Okay. We've got some deals there?
Oh, we have some amazing deals.
I want to get to that. I just want to make sure I've got this straight. So I can go into a nursery or a garden centre, and if they've got it, I can just buy it. Awesome.
That's right.
And if they don't have it, I want to get them to order it from you.
You
And
can
if they
do
won't,
that.
I can just order it myself directly.
That's right. You can do that as well.
Perfect. What's the website?
The website's www.earthlife.com.au.
Earthlife.com.au.
Yes.
Simple as that. Perfect. Tell me about some of the deals. What have you got?
Well, we've made it in pack sizes so that as a just if you want to just give it a bit of a test,
Yep.
a 2.5 kilo bag with a booklet, $19.95 delivered to your door.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yeah.
It's like $20, and that's not going to be enough to do a whole garden or something. That's like a test pack.
It's just a test pack just to do like a small veggie garden or a few pot plants.
Okay.
And see the difference in
Perfect.
what
So
it
if I'm
makes.
not convinced, $20,
Yeah.
get it delivered, and I can see for myself
Yeah,
on my
exactly.
plant with my soil in my environment what's
Yeah.
going to happen.
or otherwise.
So say I'm ready to go and I get it, and I'm like, I actually want to do this. What's the real options?
Well, we have a pack size where you can actually get 4 2.5 kilo bags in a pack size for $69.90.
Okay.
So that comes with a booklet, and so you have options. You can choose which ones products you would like to try.
Yep.
And so you can
Cool,
get a combination.
Try a few different
Yes.
products.
Yeah, so
Yep,
either
perfect.
using them together or use them in different areas to see the difference it makes for yourself.
And by buying
So you're not
forwards-
buying a huge quantity, just
Yep.
they're test packs.
Perfect. And by buying 4 instead of just one at a time, I can save a bit of
it's
money.
much better value.
Yep.
Yeah, virtually 4 for the price of 3.
Yeah. Beauty. Okay.
Other than that, a 15 kilo bag.
Now we're talking.
Yeah, so this is more just a starter for probably a bit larger, probably for the average homeowner. $69.90 for a 15 kilo bag, again with a booklet delivered to your door.
Beautiful.
Or what we call a value pack, 4 15 kilo bags
Yeah. Wow.
for $239.
Okay.
Again with a booklet, so you've got instructions how to use it,
Yep.
and that'll do a reasonable size yard.
Yep.
So you can add 4 of the same product, or again different combinations. So it's your
Yeah,
choice.
Perfect. So I've got this for the lawn and the garden. I'm thinking about, okay, I've got the veggies there, so I'll have some of this and some of this, and then...
Yeah, and I've got a lot of people order it that way because they just use it, and then once they use it and see the results, they come back and have been ordering again.
So on a regular size yard, for a couple of $100, how long would that last?
You would get probably 4 to 6 months out of that, depending on...
As a serious gardener?
Yeah, well, as serious gardener, it mightn't be quite as that, because you'd have a lot more plants in your garden, and so definitely 2 to 3 months is going to get, use out of that particular size, and then can definitely, reorder or go from there. But for the ultimate deal, we're doing 4 of those for $249.
Okay, that's the 15 kilo packs?
So that's 15 kilo bags. And we're throwing in a 1 litre breakdown product, which we haven't really talked about.
Goodness, you got more stuff. All right, tell me about the breakdown product. What's the...
Well, the breakdown...
Doesn't sound good.
I
wouldn't want that for my car. Right.
No, definitely not, but fantastic in compost heaps.
Aha, okay.
Accelerates that composting process.
Okay, gotcha.
You can spray it on your lawn, even degrades the thatch in your lawn, so saves raking it out, know.
Oh, that's cool.
So again, it's all about making gardening easy.
Yep.
And we're actually working with nature.
It's the right microbes that are going to eat that and turn it back into...
degrade the dead plant material there, which can cause issues like fungal issues in your lawn, or even can get to a point and stop moisture from going in because it creates a layer and becomes hydrophobic and stops the moisture from actually going into the soil.
Wow.
So by using breakdown in that situation, we're actually breaking that down back into natural mineral elements for the
awesome.
grass to
Is
reuse.
that available on its own?
It's available on its
How
own.
much is that?
So 1 litre normally delivered to your door is $29.90.
Yep. Perfect. And you dilute that and spray
So
it?
you would dilute that down, and so you can either use it in a spray pack or watering can.
Yep. So where are people using the breakdown product?
Well, people are using the breakdown product in their compost heaps or degrading thatch in their lawn.
Yep.
I've even got people using it on lavenders,
Yeah.
because they're a fine leaf plant and they get dead leaves in amongst the good ones.
Yep.
Well, people are spraying that with the breakdown, and it degrades the dead leaves and freshens the whole plant up. So
Save you having to go and pick out
yeah,
all
so
the
instead of picking them off or pruning them off,
Oh, wow.
this product helps degrade that
That's remarkable.
the dead leaves, and the plants then look amazing. So, number of uses for the product. And this comes from people trialling it themselves and
Reporting back to you.
and telling me what they've done, because we would never think of some of the things that they've done.
Yeah.
And so you get the 4 15 kilo bags, you get the 1 litre breakdown, and with this platinum deal, we're actually throwing in a 1 hour consultation, which is worth $150. So you get that free.
With your team.
Yeah, so you can have up to an hour worth of
that is so generous.
consult.
So if I want to talk about my garden, my situation, my yard, what's going on, and what's going to be the right product for me, what's my soil like,
Yeah.
the sunshine, my altitude, my temperature, the mist rolling up the valley, all these different things, and what I'm trying to achieve, then you can put together the right package, and we can make sure that I've got the right nutrients and minerals. And
So we
microbes.
can design something, so that you're not going in blind and sort of taking it on yourself. You actually can talk to the EarthLife team of people and get the right package for you, and that gives you,
How much is that?
well, $150 worth is the consult's worth.
Wait, how much for the package?
You're only paying $249.
Yeah. Oh wow. So it's not 500. It's 249.
Yeah, only $249 we're doing that for.
That's ridiculous. Earthlife.com.au.
That's right.
Right. All right, perfect. So tell me, I want to imagine now, say I go and order one of these packs. I jump online, order it, go through the cart, everything works. Your team will get the order, they'll ship it out.
That's
when
right.
it turns up at my place, what's it look like and what do I actually do? You said it's a bag or a
Well, the
bucket
15.
or a...
Well, the 15 kilo bags
So we've
are.
got a 15 kilo, yep.
Yeah, it's actually a bag.
Yep.
And so it's a matter of just undoing it and getting it out into your garden and start spreading it out.
Take it in my hand and throw it out. Is that
like
the best way to do it?
Like feeding the chooks.
Yep, gotcha.
As simple as.
Take it out of the bag, put it on the dirt.
And put a bit of water on it to activate the biology.
Either hose it or put the sprinkler
And then
on.
go and make a coffee or...
That's it.
That's it.
No mixing, no
mixing, no having to dig it in.
No digging, no special equipment.
No, not unless you're doing a lawn and you've got a lawn fertiliser spreader.
Okay.
Makes it a bit easier. Otherwise, people just throw it out by hand.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing. So if I, on my lawn or my garden, I get a 15 kilo bag, or I get a few of them, one for here, one for there. I'm doing this. What would I expect? How soon? Because I'm going to run out there the next morning, and like what kind of results? What's the time frames? What am I going to notice on average? And I know it's going to be different for everybody, but what's typical results?
Yeah. So the average time frame for results can vary depending on the soil that you're working with. So,
of course.
But I have had people ring me up in as quick as 2.5 days.
Really? And they're seeing
in plants that were just doing nothing, they're starting to see shoots appear in 2.5 days.
Wow.
But I've had people in 2 months ring up and said they haven't seen anything, and so give it another application, and then in 2 to 3 weeks they've rung back and gone, wow, that stuff's just...
Gotcha.
The difference it's made is just amazing. So sometimes it needs a second application, and it does work. It just needs a bit of time and depends on the amount that you apply.
Gotcha. All right, 2 tough questions before we wrap up. Is there any downside to this? Anything that we need to be aware of? Any risks? Any, potential hazards?
If you're an asthma sufferer, you probably need to wear a mask.
Well, that's dust, right?
So it's it can be a dust allergy. So, if you really want to take precautions, we would suggest you wear gloves because we are dealing with microbes. But
have you had anyone getting crook from having microbes under their fingernails?
Well, it's really about getting our hands in the dirt, isn't it? Getting our hands dirty and feeling the soil, and I think that's where a lot of people are missing out is getting our hands dirty and seeing what we can create when we really have fantastic soil to work with, which EarthLife creates.
Can we overdo it? Is it going to damage the plants if I put too much on?
In most cases, no. Like, you really can't use too much. It's just, in a lot of cases, we just get results much quicker. You know, again, it's a natural product.
Gotcha.
It's not going to burn, so we can actually put it in the hole when we're planting plants, put the plant in so the roots contact with it, backfill, some on top, water it in, and just watch it grow.
Wow. So really, I mean, it sounds like there's no real downside. There's no side effect. There's nothing we got to look out for. It's just buy it and use it and enjoy the benefits.
Exactly.
It sounds like it's that simple.
Yeah, it is. It is that simple.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Colin, what could someone expect? I mean, obviously they can get some results in their garden, in their plants. The last thing, and we'll finish up on this one. When someone starts to eat food that is nutrient dense, what can they expect as opposed to, I mean, say I eat an apple from the supermarket and then I eat an apple grown on Earth Life's 30% heavier, literally, in the weight for the same size apple. It's got all that extra nutrition in it. And if I apply that to my fruits and my veggies and everything I'm eating, what am I going to notice in my body, in my health, for my family?
Oh, well, as I said before about the 10-year-old boy with eating spinach raw, like straight from the garden, like, you know, it's just so sweet, virtually, you know, ate a lot.
So my kids are going to love vegetables.
Your kids are going to go back and, they'll love veggies again because it actually tastes sweet.
That's something you want to eat.
Because this has been the issue with a lot of veggies, is that they taste bitter.
Yeah.
Because of the improper balance of nutrition. But, you know, again, with the person I was talking about earlier, the family with the mentally and physically challenged child who started growing veggies using Earthlife products, noticed a change in their behaviour within, you know, a couple of months.
Wow.
So it really can make changes. So it's about getting our minerals, and so we'll have more vitality, we'll be happier, and so we turn people's frustration into joy, and, you know, they get their passion back for gardening and passion back for life.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
On that note, Colin, thank you so much for your time, for sharing all your wisdom. It's been such a lifetime of learning and I feel like so blessed to be able to sit here and have this conversation, have all my curiosity satisfied. And I'm sure, you know, so many people watching, you're going to be really excited to be testing this product out and seeing the results for them. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for the opportunity.
See you soon. Bye for now. High five. All right.